My people, what up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
And I'm Prentice.
And we're going to get this ball rolling and rolling and rolling. Yo, shout out to my man P. Raise the fist. My man got an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? He leveled up. He leveled up. You know? He was wild hype when we did the group FaceTime yesterday. He was like, oh, look at what. You know what I'm saying? So we moving in a better direction.
Yeah, iPhone's a move, Prentice. Like I said, I got mine in January, February, something like that when I moved to Boston. And is real quickly we forget. Now I'll be judging everybody with the green text messages, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm about to get biased real quick, man. I'm in the game. Life is different with this iPhone.
I'll be looking at green messages. I'll be, yo, who are y'all? Who raised y'all? You know what I'm saying? Like I've been iPhone for life. I just got it last week, basically.
Word.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
feeling good? Hey. Talk to us, man. Yeah. Check in.
Yeah, man. Feeling real good, man. The weather's is shitty out here in the Bay right now, but it's all good. You know, change of weather sometimes is needed. Change the pace, change of feel. Just heading into this holiday season, man. Got some dope things coming up on the horizon. I'm sure we'll be talking about soon. And you know, I'm good, man. I'm not, working on me, but I'm good.
That's what's up. Bellhead, talk to me.
Prentice, qualify shitty weather in the Bay because you got a whole tank top on right now. So I'm trying to understand.
It is 57 degrees, gloomy, and wet outside.
Oh, okay. Gloomy and wet is different. We got on a short set.
Right. Like it's probably like 57 out here today too. Something like that. No. But it's
we're spoiled out here, bro.
Huh?
You know, if it's under 70, it's cold to us.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's why I wanted you to qualify.
Yeah.
As far as me, I got a lot going on, bro. My cousin just passed away last week, man. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, cousin Derek.
Just crazy freak accident. It's weird, man, because I actually took some time last week because I got the news, man. I got the news literally walking my son out the door for daycare. And my dad called me. My dad called me before 8 o'clock in the morning or before 8:30 in the morning. Something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's just how he operates. Or he needs something like immediately. So I already knew. He called me twice because I had a meeting and I didn't hear the phone. And I'm like, I knew it wasn't good. Then my mom called. So anyway, and then the thing that stunk was I had all my team together under one roof that day. I have 4 offices and they're typically spread out amongst all 4. So I had to get in there and basically turn it on, you know what I'm saying? And not necessarily talk about what I had going on and all of that. So I did that. Then I had a team dinner that night. So it was just a long, long day. And I went to the office the next day and it was just, I had a lot of time to sit and think. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm going to take these next 2 days off and just be there for myself. You know what I'm saying? Be there for myself and obviously support my family where need be. But that first day off, man, I don't know when the last time y'all did this. And I know Prentice with your little one now is probably no time soon you're going to be able to do this. But bro, I laid in the bed all day on Thursday and just watched TV. I couldn't tell you the last time I did that. Like, as I was doing it, it was reminiscent of when you convince your mom to let you stay home from school because you tell her you sick, but you ain't really sick, but you just don't want to go to school. Like that's what it was like. And I'm like, man, this was so good for my damn mental health. You know what I mean? I'm sending these deep, thought-provoking questions to the group chat because I ain't got nothing but time on my hand in the bed. But yeah, man, I took them 2 days and I just relaxed and was, like I said, was there for myself and so I can be who I need to be for everybody else. So that's the latest with me, man. But work is going extremely well. Some change coming, but you know, such is life, right? But I'm good. I'm good overall. What's up with you, Chief?
Self-care is important. Shout out to you for taking that moment for yourself, man. Word up. Recognizing it and then taking it was a big deal. We've been talking about that. So we see the growth because it was hard for you to do that a while ago, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you actually did that. For me, man, I'm still on a little bit of a high, yo. So I took a couple of days off of work last week and went to Vegas with my grandma to celebrate her 84th birthday. And it was like
y'all was turned.
It was like a kid in the candy store, bro. I'm gonna actually post a clip. I'm gonna throw it in the middle of this right now so I can see how live she was. But my cousins and my aunts had my grandma out in Vegas drinking Henny. Dude, it was surreal, bro. Like just to sit there and witness her having so much joy. It still feels so good. I can't even describe to you how good it made me feel to watch this woman just be surrounded by love and playing bingo. You know what I'm saying? And she won on her birthday, won a little bit of bingo on her birthday, won a couple of dollars, man. It was beautiful, yo. That's the best way. It was such a good time just to be there for her, and it felt so good. And I just remember her, like hearing her voice, oh my God, I'm in Vegas. Like she was just happy to be there, bro. So it was dope. She had her little scooter and was tearing them streets up, or was up and down the Vegas street. So it felt amazing, man. It really, really did. So I'm still I'm still on the high about that, man. So I feel real good. Learned some stuff though.
Yo, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were my bad. No, finish your story.
No, I was just saying on the downside of that, my cousin told me like grandma need like orthopedic shoes and like a super extended toilet because it's wild low and she have trouble getting up and down, and we got to get her some physical therapy to keep her more active so she can keep them legs strong. Other than that, everything's good, man.
Man, that's the least of your worries. I'm thinking you about to say something real bad.
No. We're gonna get them orthopedic shoes. We're gonna get her up in therapy, and get that toilet seat, and everything should be good.
Shout out to you too, man. I see you got an adult toilet now in your bathroom.
What you mean?
You had the low rise. You had like the kitty, the potty before. Your joint was low as hell. Now you got the extended clip.
So
let
me tell you this thing right here. So I'm on vacation.
Special.
Yeah, I'm on vacation, right, P? Before I left, I literally threw away half my house. I have four rooms completely empty. And I was getting my floors whatever, polyurethane, whatever they call it, refinished. This nigga called me like, yo, where the key at? I'm like, Bell, there's nothing in the house. I'm here. This nigga comes in the house and he just sits on my bed because ain't nothing else to sit on. But mind you, all the furniture is in my bedroom and the kitchen. So he had to bob and weave around, TV stands and all this stuff to get to the bed. I'm like, yo, all right, man, just do what you do. So that's how you found out about, I guess, my adult toilet, whatever.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Whatever. Anyways.
It's an upgrade, bro. That's all that counts, man.
Everything, I've been upgrading over here, man. Pete, what was your question, though?
I was going to say, how do you feel after that Vegas trip in comparison to how you felt before you left? Because I know, you know what I'm saying, last month was pretty taxing, you know what I mean? And if your answer, I'm gonna wait for your answer first.
So it's crazy because I'm still, like I said, I'm still on kind of like that high. So coming back to the bullshit at work is like, it almost didn't faze me. Like I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm here. So you don't know where I just came from. You don't know what, like that. It's like an internal thing that made me feel so good that like, I'll deal with this shit. Like I still ain't got no car, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm still bobbing and weaving, you know what I mean? So
you had to make some internal deposits, man.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Boom. That's where I was going to head because, I was going to say like, who's the thing, like when you was out here in the Bay, I was like, maybe, you need a quick break just to be in a different environment like that. But who to think it's going to be your grandma's joy in Vegas and watching her happy like that's going to feed you enough to come back and kind of get back to it. Like sometimes, I know for me, sometimes I'm constantly trying to find like the motivation in myself to keep pushing and shit, not realizing that it can come from so many other places if I allow the moments to happen. Does that make sense?
That's a great point you bring up because I took the self-care time to go out to the Bay and hang out with you and just get myself out of the environment, and it was cool and it was dope. But it was a different feeling coming back after experiencing that joy with my grandma. I never thought about that. The self-care moment was going away, getting a new environment, hanging out with the homies, seeing my goddaughter. You know what I mean? Being happy. Then I came back cool, but this was different. You know what I'm saying? I really like just got to watch this woman, 84 years old, first time in Vegas. She like a, the regular project chick, essentially. Ain't been out the city, you know what I mean? Outside of where she lived here in Georgia. So, you know what I mean? So it was a beautiful thing to get her out there and like a deer in headlights and all the lights. Like, and again, she took that little scooter and was up and down the strip and zero complaints, man. So it felt great, man. But yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, for sure.
Dope. So we transitioning on to today's topic, my people. We got a email from one of our followers, or one of our supporters, we like to call them. One of our supporters, and he put some very valid points. To sum it up, it was kind of like, how do you hold your homies accountable and while keeping the relationship intact? And I think I like to read just the bottom half. It's a little bit long, but it'll essentially give you the essence of what we talk about. This is, how do we create and maintain accountability within our circles? It's great to lean on the homies and push each other out of our comfort zones to do and be more, but what do we do to hold each other accountable? Particularly when they may involve calling out the homies on something they said or done or not done. Between the aversion to conflict and pride having niggas in a chokehold, it can be quite challenging to have those tough conversations that come on the other side of the situation with the relationship still intact. And it's a little bit more, but I would agree in his points. But I think if we go, I mean, just the three of us, I know I've had conversation with you guys, and it's kind of, I think if you have a solid foundation, your relationship is tight, like, it ain't gonna matter what you say. You know what I'm saying? As long as you ain't coming at them disrespectfully, like if it's your homie and you got something on your spirit that you think he's doing wrong, y'all should be able to talk about that.
I 1,000,000% agree. In the first place, my mind went, and obviously I read the email, but when hearing you read it, it just sparked different thoughts. But the first thing I thought about is like standards, right? Like what do you stand for? What do you stand on, right? And do the people around you share those same standards? And if the question, and I'll give you an example, right? So it's like, I don't hang out with deadbeat dads. I just don't, right? It's just one of those things where it's like, I've never gotten close to one, or once I realized one was a deadbeat dad, I've distanced myself. Like, so there won't be any conflict between him and I, because we won't be in the same room long enough to have conflict, right? I don't care enough about what he's doing with his life because he's not in my circle. So what I mean by that is, everybody that's in my circle, we all share the same values to a degree. So I say all that to say, when I'm holding somebody accountable, it's typically for a level up, right? Not to maintain status quo, right? So I'm not holding Chief accountable to make sure he's upholding the standards of our relationship, the standards of our friendship. I'm holding him accountable to something he told me he said he wants to get accomplished and is doing the opposite, right? So it's like, there's the baseline, and then, which is like the cost of admission. We're not going to be friends if we don't share these same views.
Right. If you ain't taking care of your kids, we ain't hanging out, really.
Yeah, it's just certain things, man. Like we're not the same people, and that's cool. So I think, to your point, Chief, yeah, it always has to be said respectfully, right? But I feel like that's like redundant, because you're not going to have people in your circle that you don't respect, and vice versa. So I don't know that no matter what I said to you, it will be taken as disrespectful because of the genuine love that we have for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may not agree with my tone, but you'll know it's not coming from a place of malice.
Right. And I mean, that's right. The relationship we have too. So let me kind of bend the subject a little bit. I got an email not too long ago from a former student of mine saying one of his homies invited him to the Frank stand in an argument, hit him with the SMD.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, how, like, I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm from where you from. Niggas get slapped over that quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if that's your homie, you got to press him like, yo, that was wild. That was crazy. You know what I'm saying? We got beef. That ain't what you say to one of your homies. But then I think he said he addressed it with him, and dude like never like was like, didn't like own it, didn't apologize or none of that. So I'm just like, yeah, you know what I mean? You got either two things you got to do. You got to forget about it, and distance yourself from homeboy, or slap him on sight. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to
And that's the other thing.
Advocate violence, but, you know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, there's certain things that just can't be tolerated, you know, and people respect violence, right? They may not respect a lot of things, but they respect violence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, you know.
Go ahead, Prentice.
Oh, okay, my bad. I was gonna say to the point you were making a minute ago about just what were we talking about? Damn, fuck.
Standards.
Going blank. The point you were making, yeah, standards. Back to that. Not every. I think we got to point out too. Remember, not everybody has that type of that unit that we're blessed to have, or circle of friends where your standards and your principles are all lined up. So I think some of us find ourselves having conflict because we find ourselves having certain principles and standards that some of our homies don't. And that's when the accountability becomes an issue. You get what I'm saying? So what would you say to those who don't have that type of relationship? You get what I'm saying? Because we're in an exclusive kind of great situation.
Yeah, no, great point.
I 100% agree. And you say exclusive, like it's like we say all the time, like you won't find a crew tight, you know what I'm saying, tight or as you know, as tight as we are, or it's be hard pressed. So to your point, I think that the answer to that is distance yourself, bro. You got to get a new circle.
No, so wait. Let's back up. Let's back up, right? One, I don't think we're an anomaly, right? I think there's other crews, people that have this level of relationship. So I don't want to downplay what other people have worked towards and everything like that. That being said, the answer to your question, from my perspective, Prentice, is what are you trying to get accomplished, right? So another example, Gilly the King, shout out to $1 Million Worth of Game. They just he posted, a lot of times people DM him for advice and stuff like that, and he normally makes it comedy and it's entertaining. But the question was, this dude asked him, was like, I'm a civilian, but I hang around street dudes, but I'm not in the street. I don't do any of those things. But somebody told me I'm guilty by association. And he's like, what is your thought or view on that? Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what the question was. And Gilly said, listen, when them dudes hop out to ride on whoever these street dudes that you befriended, they don't care that you're a civilian, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you there, you getting it just like everybody else. So my answer to your question, Prentice, is what are you looking to get accomplished? Right? So you say distance yourself, Chief, right? Cool. I agree with that too. But what are we looking to get accomplished? Like, what's the goal of this friendship?
I think that gives you an opportunity to figure out what direction it's going to go. I don't think you dip right away, because that can be an opportunity for y'all to get on the same page or to help your homie level up. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, this shit ain't cool. I like, if we homies, I can't dip on you. You know what I mean? Like, that can't be the first response. I got to check you on what I think is not cool. I think it's just that's when you realize that y'all got kind of different values. And that's when I think separation naturally kind of happens. I know it's happened for me and some of my friends. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's friends of mine that I'm not as close with anymore. And that's cool. But I can identify where when I realize that we had a couple of different principles that just weren't going to allow us to stay synced together the whole time.
I mean, I can think of this one example, and God bless the dead, my man Rick. When we were younger, that's why I say separate yourself. When we were younger, it was me and a bunch of other dudes playing ball, just being active as teens do. Rick started to smoke on his own and do his own thing. We kind of distanced ourselves from, like, no, that's not the path that we run in. And granted, I don't think we were mature enough to have that conversation, even though I think we may have had it. He still kind of did what he did. But at the end of the day, I think for me, at least, it was, I knew what I wanted. And I was maybe under the impression that you had already had this conversation with the homie, or, you had an understanding of, where each other stood. And that's that. Okay, for example, like, I guess it's different when I say, I'm going to use the example of me not drinking. Like, the homies know that. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my thing. I'm able to stand firm in that, and it doesn't create any dissension in the relationship.
Yeah, and it also doesn't impact me at all. I'm assuming, and I don't know, I'm assuming our supporter question was around somebody that I'm assuming, right? That's an established relationship. They're friends. They haven't grown apart, right? Because everything you're talking about, we can all relate to, right? Like people were young, we were super tight, we got older, our values change, our views change, and we drift. Cool. I'm assuming he's talking about somebody he's cool with current state, right? And it's just an opportunity for him to help that person be accountable to whatever I'm assuming that they said they want to be held accountable to. But there's another thing that we're not talking about that I think needs to be mentioned, right? And that's pride, right? Which is
you mentioned that in email, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's very prevalent in Black men, right? Very prevalent. Like I had a white dude ask me one time, and we're super close, but I had a white dude ask me one time, he's like, Bell, man, he's like, why Black people always so quick to fight? You know what I'm saying? He's like, why y'all always so quick to fight? And it caught me off guard because it was just out of left field, but it's pride. Like if I had to boil it down to one thing, it's pride. So pride and ego, right? So as it pertains to accountability, things like that, if your circle, if there's too much ego, right? Somebody may not be able to receive what you're saying, no matter how well you say it, how well you articulate it, right? If there's envy or jealousy, you know what I'm saying? Like it won't be well received no matter how you say it. So that's what you got to iron out first, right? That's why I said, what's the goal? Like, what are we looking to get accomplished as a group or as a friendship, whatever, in a relationship, right? Whatever that is. And that's why I said you got to more so evaluate what the goal is.
Yeah, but
so you saying I'm hold on real quick, Chief, my bad. So when you say like what's the goal, do you mean it like literally or like because I'm looking at it in a situation like if you get when you're trying to hold a homie accountable like you're saying, and it's not received in the way you wanted to, I think you got to kind of make a decision, you know what I mean? Like which way you're gonna go. Well, I guess that would be the goal. Decision on where you want to take it. You leave it alone, or is it some shit that you can't still rock with them on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we don't know, right? So like holding accountable, is this something that you're like, yo, fellas, by this time next year, I'm gonna be here, or this time next year, I'm gonna have this, right? I need y'all to hold me accountable to that. All right, boom. I've given you explicit instructions, right? Now that's one level of accountability. Another level of accountability would be if you're not meeting the standard, right? That we have all basically agreed to, right? Like, hey, we're gonna be these types of human beings. And if you fall below that, I'm gonna check you. Period. Like I'm gonna check you.
So
if you're not okay with me checking you for the bare minimum standard, then maybe you're no longer aligned with what we want to do or who we are as men, right? And again, I can understand, like if somebody's drifting, then yeah, a lot of shit comes into play. You know, like you may not be able to receive any of that because you may have lost yourself for a period.
So a lot of these goals per se aren't necessarily written or made like they're not explicit.
Some of them are just understood.
It's an underlying understanding. Like, listen, this is the way we function and operate just because of who we are and how we've been or whatever. And when you veer from that consensus right there, that's when the issue starts and accountability.
Dude, it goes back to any sport you play. Know your personnel. Right? Know your personnel. Like, hey, this is what I understood my personnel to be. You need to let me know if this is no longer who you are. Right? So when you met, so answer one of the gentleman's questions, if you're met with friction, if you're met with contention, but you just holding them accountable, now it brings out another conversation. Okay, then tell me who you want to be. Right? Whether
that's that direction I was talking about, right?
Yeah. Whether it was explicitly said, I need you to hold me accountable to X, Y, Z, Or like I said, the other scenario, it's an understanding of like, this is just who we are. Cool. Help me understand why you mad, right? Like if this is triggering you, why, right? Has something changed? And then if so, then maybe we need to change, right? And it's not always that simple, but that's the crux of it, right? Like that's the basis, in my opinion.
Another point he mentioned was being able to check them when they're doing or saying or doing wrong, in a sense. I think that might be where the caveat comes in terms of like causing that dissension, because people don't like to be corrected or whatever. Like, I don't know. I mean,
no, but I don't give a shit what you like, right? Like, here's the bottom line. If we
that's what it's about at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. If we as tight as we are saying we are, this comes with the territory. Again, if you're not meeting that standard, if you're not meeting that standard, the bare minimum of the friendship, or you're not, you told me to hold you accountable and you don't like what I have to say. Oh well, right? Like,
you go ahead, P.
Also, you can remember too, it's okay. Like, I've had circumstances like that, and then I had to just reposition them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were certain things that I couldn't rock with, and I just had to put them in a different place. You know what I mean? Like, we still got love, we still rock with each other, but you know what I mean? So don't forget that, like, you can also reposition people in your life too, fellas. I think we forget that sometimes. Like, it's okay for them not to have the same amount of significance as they had for you 5 years ago if you're in a different 100%. Place now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you don't got to leave. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to leave them alone, but sometimes they're just not with where you going right now, man. So you just got to reshift.
And that's where I go back to the friendship that we have, because I just like these are my brothers, and there's nothing to talk about. Like, there ain't no repositioning these cats. Like, if it goes outside of here, it's a problem for me. That's like gonna hurt my heart, B. And not that it can't happen. So my thing is this: if it ever has to be repositioned with these cats, it's over. Like, that means the ties are cut. If we can't figure it out and we got to be repositioned, ties are cut for me.
But then you're gonna have other relationships where repositioning is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Right. Not that circle of the people you cherish the most, but there's gonna be people, there are people you fuck with where you gotta kind of shift that friendship.
So when I'm reading the email, whenever it applies, I think about the core right here.
Yeah.
Outside of it, I'm looking at the core right now, and I guess that's where my
mind. I don't know. Again, his question is great. I love it. But what we don't have is the whole story, right? We don't have all the context, Right. So I think for the purpose of the questioning, I think we all make valid points. Like, to your point you just made, Chief.
Let's be specific, and let's say
keep cutting me off. I'm slap shit out
you. Not today, not on today. So
today you won't.
Let's be specific and talk about maybe like a parenting issue or cheating, or I don't know, an aggressive with his girl or something like that. Like something like that. Like, that could be a situation where he's referencing. Maybe one of his homeboys is doing dirt. He's afraid to check his homeboy.
I feel like that's too obvious, right? Like, I feel like that's a unanimous understanding that that's just not acceptable.
Right. But how do you hold your boy? How do you hold your man accountable in that regard, though? How do you have that conversation? Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe for a purpose of, I mean, it does seem like it's too obvious, but for conversational purposes and, getting it out right now, how do we do that? How do we advise him to go ahead and check his homie who's cheating?
Well, you got to know him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how to approach your people, right? And like, I don't know if there's an exact way to go about it. Some niggas need to get taken out and then go to the bar and have a quick drink with them to calm them down. And some you can just kind of run down on and say what you got to say.
I think regardless of what the scenario is, I think the foundation of it is relationship. So whatever that means how strong is it, right? Like, is it strong enough to withstand this conversation, right? Like, there has to be something established, because without it, the words mean nothing.
do you take the initiative to have that conversation if you feel like the relationship isn't as strong?
That's a good question.
It's all subjective, man. That depends on I feel like that depends on the value of it to you, right? Like I don't have conversations about shit with certain people that don't matter to me. You know, even if it is an issue, you know, they don't hold enough significance for me to have that conversation. So I would imagine if you're even having this dilemma, somebody you care about enough to call them out on their shit.
I agree. Like a classic example of that is it's like if you're dealing with a girl who has a boyfriend, right? Like, do you go tell her boyfriend, like, your girl cheating? You know what I'm saying? No, you don't, because I don't give a shit about it, right? Like, that's not my concern. So that's what I'm saying. It goes back to relationship. Like, where are you at in that relationship? Clearly, he wouldn't be asking the question if he didn't care about that individual. You see what I'm saying? So my whole thing is, if you care about that individual, you now have to reevaluate what's important to that individual and what your position is. Like, look, my man, like, if you like it, I love it, right? But if it's not about what we stand for, then we got to have a different conversation, right? And again, stand for, like, again, like, if you out here, this is my internet connection is unstable. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
All right. If you out here with all these fatherless children, then we ain't got nothing to talk about, right? But if you out here in a relationship cheating, right? Like, what's up, man? Like, is she not the one? Like, talk to me? Like, what's happening, right? Like that. Like, I don't know that there's a script, right? I don't know that there's a script, but I do know that there has to be an established relationship before you can even approach it. And you got to kind of check egos at the door, right? If the relationship means something to you.
Well, how do we?
And, you know, I think another good point, I thought about is, like, you know, to the fellas out there who may be listening and are going through, you know, what a lot of us are going through with this growth process, you may find yourself having them conversations more with some of the homies as you evolve, man. Like, certain things may stand out that weren't relevant to you anymore, that you feel it necessary to speak out on. And sometimes that conversation is not going to go the way you want it to go. And you still care about that motherfucker. And so I'm thinking about that because having this conversation made me think of a couple of moments like that with me. And I had to kind of then deal with, and it's a whole nother subject, but just how to kind of balance the idea that along the way, you lose people as a result of these accountability moments, you know?
Is there a way?
And being okay with that.
Right. Is there a way for us to, I don't want to say prepare, I guess, to have the offender open his eyes to swallowing that pride and being receptive to this check, to this accountability moment?
So a couple of things. Like, I think, Prentice, you bring up a good point. And what you're talking about, if I'm hearing you correctly, is basically those who could be lost during the level up, right?
Yep. In the form of what we're talking about, holding each other accountable in our space.
Yeah. So there's some. So I went through this some years ago, right? And number of people told me about this individual. So go, Bell, yo, he envious of you. He this, he that. I'm like, nah, man, that's my nigga. Like, that's we go back to the sandbox. Like, that's not the case, right? And then you start ignoring things, and then suddenly you're like, wait a minute. Like, is this about me or is this about them? You know what I'm saying? Because people will say, while you in your process of growing, oh, you changed, you did this, you did that. Nah, bro, you just didn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you just didn't. And there's a saying that I love, I've been finding myself say a lot lately, is a hit dog will holler. You know what I mean? And if you trying to help somebody understand something and they feel like it's a personal attack, that means there's probably some validity there. You know what I'm saying? There's probably some validity there. And they're upset potentially about you recognizing they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So they're going to get super defensive.
And that's hard.
Yeah, you know, and that again has to go back to what you want. Like what you want me to, like what can I do to help you get to where you want to get to in form of accountability? Whatever that is. That could be, buying a new set of tires for your car and saving the money. You know what I'm saying? It can be a new love life, a new career. But that's the question. Like what can I do to help you? And that's
all those things are kind of easy to figure out if you have that dynamic of relationship. I think, you know what I mean? It goes back to what you say, the relationship, but all of that comes within the dynamic of that friendship. You know what I mean? Like all of that, it gets figured out as long as you guys are at a point where you can have that conversation.
Unless the dynamic
but there ain't
changes.
No, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless it changes, which it can.
And that's all I'm saying. Like if you find yourself having tougher conversations with somebody that you haven't had to have in the past, that means something's changing. You know what I'm saying? And it could be good, it could be bad, right? You have to identify what's changing. And again, back to what I was originally saying, like what's the goal? Right? Like what are you trying to get accomplished? What are we trying to get accomplished? Whatever that. And this goes for relationships, because I don't know if you guys ever tried to check your spouse on some shit. That don't always go over well. You know what I'm saying? So
you missed the what's your what do you call it, P?
What?
Toxic trait? What was your toxic trait?
Yeah.
I did that one.
Yeah. We gotta double that back for Bill, man. That should have fucked your head up.
Yeah, it hasn't even been released yet, so I haven't even listened to it.
Yeah, man. So we I think we kind of hit it on the head. We got a bunch of different perspectives thrown at it, and I hope it helps. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I think it might help some people find some closure in having difficult conversations, or being prepared to have them, or to get those being directed at them. So I don't know, it's worth something. Let's close this thing out. P, give me your final.
Having difficult conversations is a great way to build your confidence. For people who need to find ways to kind of work on their confidence, because 9 times out of 10, it won't go as bad as you may have imagined. So you're always, it's often that you can come out of a difficult conversation feeling accomplished because you actually had it. So, try to practice having conversations that may be challenging, because it's a good way to build up your self-confidence.
Yeah, I love that. I'll take it one step further. Don't run away from challenging conversations, because some of the strongest relationships are forged through adversity, right? And even conflict. I think about a lot of dudes that I didn't like back in the day, and we got into it, and now we're some of my closest friends. I had to beat Chief up in his driveway, and look at us now. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would encourage you guys to run towards those conversations, because the outcome could be far greater than you imagine, or far better than you imagine.
So I'm gonna go back to my, I swear, like these memes be helping me level up. But it was a meme I saw just the other day, and it said, "Avoiding difficult conversations is not keeping your peace." And it makes sense. A lot of people try to claim it, use keeping their peace as avoiding that difficult conversation that you want to have. So sometimes you gotta walk into those conversations with the expectations to grow and learn from it. So my final thought would be open to having these difficult conversations with your people or whomever in effort to continue growing and chasing the level up, because that's the only way the level up happens, is when you look tough in the face. I'm not talking about physically. I'm saying when you look, whatever the tough situation is, right, and you take it head on, you level up from that. I mean, it's a lesson from every difficult experience we have. So don't be afraid to stand firm in that difficulty and come out even stronger. Yeah. Cool. So, this has been another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. Holler at us on any social media outlet at All Black Men Need Therapy. Email us at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com. And per usual, do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
Do it.
And tomorrow.
Do it.
We out, y'all.
Peace.